Welcome to the heart of the ancient forest, where the biting cold of winter meets the purity of white snow under a golden morning sun. In this majestic landscape, a story of loyalty and sacrifice begins to unfold, hidden beneath the frozen canopy of trees and the whispers of the wind. Meet the pair of snow wolves, spirits of the wild who share a bond deeper than the roots of the oldest pines in this frost-covered realm. The male, strong and protective, watches over his mate with a devotion that transcends the harsh reality of their frozen world, keeping her warm and safe. In her eyes, there is nothing but absolute trust, a reflection of a soul that has found its anchor in the midst of the vast wilderness. For them, the forest is not a place of fear, but a sanctuary where their love shines brighter than the morning light reflecting off the snow. They navigate the treacherous terrain as one, their footsteps leaving a single trail in the powder, symbolizing their inseparable journey through life and survival. But even in the most serene moments, the tides of nature are preparing a test that will challenge the very core of their existence and loyalty. Suddenly, the sky turns a heavy shade of leaden gray as a fierce blizzard begins to howl through the mountain passes, bringing a deadly chill. The temperature drops rapidly, and the once gentle breeze transforms into a violent gale that threatens to bury everything in its path under a thick shroud. Inside a cold stone cavern, the female wolf huddles for warmth, her breath shallow and weak as hunger begins to gnaw at her failing strength. Every muscle in her body trembles against the freezing air, her energy fading as the lack of food and the extreme cold drain her life. The male wolf watches her with growing desperation, his own stomach empty, yet his only thought is for the survival of the one he loves. He notices a small wound on his paw, a reminder of the harsh life they lead. But he ignores his own pain to focus on her. He gazes out into the blinding white chaos of the storm, knowing that to stay is to starve, but to leave is to face death. A spark of fierce determination ignites in his eyes, a silent vow to bring back the sustenance needed to save his mate from the brink. He takes a final, lingering look at her sleeping form, memorizing her face as if it might be the last time he ever sees her. Without a sound, he plunges into the wall of snow, his powerful frame quickly swallowed by the white abyss as he starts his perilous mission. She stirs in her sleep, feeling the sudden absence of his warmth, unaware that her protector has just embarked on a journey of ultimate sacrifice. Through the waist-deep snow and biting wind, he pushes forward, driven by an instinct more powerful than fear, and a love more resilient than winter. His keen senses search for any sign of life in the desolate landscape, hunting for a chance to provide the meal that will save her. In a clearing, he finds a massive grizzly bear guarding a fresh kill, a formidable opponent that no lone wolf would ever dare to challenge. Hunger and desperation strip away his caution. He lets out a low, menacing growl, preparing to fight a battle where the odds are heavily stacked. They collide in a flurry of fur and snow, the wolf using his agility to dodge the bear's massive claws, while seeking an opening to strike. The air is filled with the sounds of snarling and the heavy thud of bodies hitting the frozen ground. A primitive struggle for life. A heavy blow from the bear sends him tumbling into the snow, blood staining the white surface as he struggles to regain his footing despite pain. With a burst of adrenaline, he lunges forward, delivering a sharp bite that forces the giant beast to retreat, surprised by the wolf's unrelenting ferocity. Sensing the wolf's desperate madness, the bear finally turns away, leaving the hard-won prize behind as the wolf stands victorious, but gravely wounded. He weakly sinks his teeth into the meat, his body trembling from exhaustion, but his mind remains focused on the long, agonizing trek back. Every step is a monumental effort, his blood dripping slowly onto the snow, marking a trail of pain across the frozen wilderness as the sun sets. The darkness brings even colder air, yet he refuses to stop, dragging his broken body through the shadows with the precious gift clutched in his jaws. Back in the shelter of the rocks, the female wolf watches the entrance, her heart growing heavy with a loneliness she has never felt before. Minutes turn into hours, and as the hunger twists her stomach, a dark shadow of doubt begins to creep into her mind. clouding her trust. She wonders why he has gone so long, her fear turning into a bitter resentment that he might have found food and kept it for himself. Under the cold, pale light of the moon, a ragged figure appears at the edge of the clearing, moving with a slow and painful limp. It is him, nearly unrecognizable, his fur matted with frozen blood and his eyes clouded with the haze of near-total physical and mental exhaustion. With his last ounce of strength, he drops the piece of meat before her, his tail giving a weak, hopeful wag despite his internal agony. The meat is covered in his own blood and the bear's, a grim testament to the violence he endured just to ensure that she would live. She approaches the offering, but instead of gratitude, she smells the overwhelming scent of blood and foreign fur, her mind jumping to a terrible conclusion. She sees his torn ears and gashed side, and in her deluded state, she imagines he has been fighting over food he ate without her. A low, angry growl escapes her throat, a sound of accusation that cuts deeper into the male wolf's heart than any claw or tooth could. He looks at her with wide, bewildered eyes, unable to understand why the mate he almost died for is now looking at him with hatred. With a swift movement of her muzzle, she shoves the meat away into the dirt, rejecting his ultimate gift as if it were an insult. She retreats to the furthest corner of the cave and turns her back on him, leaving him alone in the cold with his wounds. Crushed by her rejection, the male wolf slowly lowers his head onto his paws, his spirit broken, and his body finally giving up the ghost. As the first rays of the morning sun touch the cavern floor, the storm has passed, leaving a world that is quiet and hauntingly beautiful. The female wolf wakes, her anger having cooled with the night, and she looks toward her mate, expecting him to be awake and waiting, but he does not move. He lies exactly where she left him, his body stiff and covered in a light dusting of frost from the air. She walks over and gently nudges his shoulder with her nose, waiting for the familiar warmth and the soft sound of his breathing to greet her. There is only cold. The silence in the cave becomes deafening as the realization of his death begins to sink into her horrified mind. She looks closer at the meat and the trail of blood leading into the cave, seeing the deep gashes on his body that tell the truth. She finally understands the magnitude of his sacrifice, the battle he fought, and the incredible pain he endured just to bring her that one meal. A long, mournful howl erupts from her chest, a cry of pure agony that echoes through the trees, mourning the love she destroyed with doubt. Tears fall from her eyes, freezing on her fur as she realizes that her suspicion was the weapon that dealt the final blow to his spirit. She curls her body around his cold frame, desperate to give back the warmth she withheld when he needed it most. But it is too late. The forest stands silent witness to a tragedy born not of nature's cruelty, but of a heart that forgot how to believe in goodness. Never let the shadow of a moment's doubt darken the light of a lifetime of devotion. For once lost, trust is a treasure never recovered. Kindness is a fragile flame that requires the air of trust to survive. Without it, even the strongest spirit will eventually flicker out and die. Ask yourself today, are you accidentally killing the kindness around you with the cold poison of suspicion? Choose to believe in the goodness of love. Treasure the sacrifices made in your name, and let your heart be a sanctuary of gratitude rather than a prison of doubt. Goodbye for now.